Once again, I want to thank you for joining us on the program Politics Today on Independent Television and Radio. Our panelists, let me welcome from my extreme left, a former member of the Nigerian Youth Parliament who represented the Central in Abuja, Honorable Prosper Iyere. Prosper, many thanks for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
We also have with us here the immediate past Special Advisor on Political Affairs at the State Government, Comrade Shedrack Dugba. Shedrack, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Good morning, my good people of Edo State. It's a pleasure to be with you.
We have our panelists here already, and we also have you on the other side because much later you will be joining the conversation through our phone-in segment. Gentlemen, once again, thank you for coming on the program. Let me begin with you, Shedrack. What, in your opinion, are the key takeaways from the budget presentation by Mr. Governor on Tuesday at the Hallowed Chambers? And do you think that those key takeaways were dwarfed by other issues?
Yes, for me, it was the first time I got to see the 5-point agenda they spoke of the APC administration. During the course of the campaign, I never had an opportunity to know what the 5-point agenda was. For me, I just felt because there was no manifesto, Christian on paper, for us to know exactly what his plans and vision was for Edo State. So it was the first time I could see the visions written on paper and then being read out in public domain, and then give us a clue of what to expect in the coming days. But then the issue that cropped up on the inadequacy for him to pronounce those numbers, I felt it has been interpreted from different angles. Some persons have said, well, it could be trivialized, just the issue of numeracy, people know number, people do not know number. But for me, it still anchors on the issue of competence, what many persons have previously spotted from time past, going on from the pre-campaigns, the pre-election issues, down to where we are. Because I personally, I have spoken in time past strongly about the competence of the governor, or perhaps the perceived competence of the governor. And I have spoken strongly in the sense that, because I know that the challenges that are before Edo State, the growth and development of its people and the growth of the economy is a multi-dimensional challenge that will require core problem-solving skills. Problem-solving skills that cuts across innovation, that cuts across creativity, that seeks infusion of technology and the adoption of international best practices. And all of these things will require someone that has strong intellectual capacity to comprehend and implement.
Okay. Now, in that regards, I specifically asked the question about the key takeaways. You said this was the first time for you to appreciate what the vision was. What, in your opinion, are those key takeaways from the budget presentation that resonates with you?
For me, he spoke about restituting the security architecture, the one that was banned during the course of the election, although we felt that it was being the local vigilante. And then he spoke about his the infrastructure road was first about 100-something million, 162 billion was in the plate for road. Fine, but in as much as those things that appears to be good on paper, we do not see, I personally, I do not see the capacity of this administration being able to bring home those dividends as Christian on paper.
So that makes you a prophet of doom?
No, I do not have to be. From what we have seen.
Yes.
From what we have seen, that's what can possibly happen.
Okay. Let me proceed. I'll come back to you in a moment. Prosper, share with us briefly some of the key takeouts from the budget presentation beyond the issue of numeracy, the issue of figures that seems to be that was at the front burner, post presentation of the budget.
Well, for me, I think that, first of all, we need to look at the sincerity of purpose and honesty of intentions in that budget presentations. Because from what I can observe, the governor is ready and prepared to serve Edo people. Day before yesterday makes it barely 1 month in office after inauguration. So it would be out of place for us to begin to, preempt his intentions and, criticize the government. It is too early for all of that. But now you look at the budget, 48 billion for education, 63 billion, 162 billion for road infrastructure, and 63.9 billion for health, and we have 4.5 billion for agriculture. That's a very fine and laudable budget. Barely a month, the governor has hit the ground running, boots on the ground, jets in the air, and they are very committed to serve Edo people. We can see you were very much, you are aware that, the flyover has just been inaugurated, has just been flagged off, and you will see development in Edo State. But for me, the passionate appeal for me to Edo people is to be patient with this government. Distinguished Senator Monday Okpebholo is very committed. He has the passion, the zeal, and the enthusiasm to serve Edo people. So for me, the budget is a welcome budget, like the Christian Day to be renewed hope budget for a rising Edo. So let's leave it at that and hope for a better Edo.
Okay, fantastic. Let me look at some specific areas. The issue of Ambrose Ali University was a major thorny one under the past administration, particularly as it relates to subventions and all of that. You are aware that there was always this cantankerous relationship between the school, the various unions in the school, and the government. But we're hearing now that subvention is within the region of 500 million naira. What's your take on this, Shedrack?
For me, from the information I gathered while we were in office, the governor was very keen on carrying out, to overhaul most of the federal institutions, state institutions in Edo State. That is why you see the Igboyaki, the Ikedolo, and also in Ambrose Ali. But Ambrose Ali's one was more critical because we saw some long history of infested system, whereby people who are not in the country were getting master's degree, were getting BSc from an institution having not attended one day. So the calculation was the government needed to clean the system, and the government was spending humongous resources in giving subvention to those schools. While the school, the businesses, the institutions, the revenue generating arm of the school was being fretted away, the resources were fretted away by individuals who had considered themselves as principalities within the system, within the educational system. So Obaseki was keen on repositioning this. That's why they said that they put in place an elaborate SIT as an intervention team to go into the school and scrutinize and screen. Many lecturers were found wanted. There were cases of rape, there were cases of sex for grades, there were cases of blocking and corruption. So those lecturers were being tried, and many of them were being relieved of their job. But you know, the organizations, when you fight corruption, corruption will certainly fight back. So one of those things stood behind, fought against, but the government eventually triumphed. They were able to raise the standard of the school to ensure that perhaps they raised school fees, because the man felt that this is an institution, you ought to at least have some level, some structural base on which they operate. Not just because if the government does not bring 5 naira, the school goes down almost immediately. It was the issue of starting school fees. He tried to solve the problem of unionism, because if you put AAU now on YouTube, the first thing you see is protest. Like the first time video that will come out is protest. So these were things were defaming the nature of the school, and he went to reposition the school for better growth. But he achieved the whole.
Would you say that reducing the subvention to the school was part of structures or strategy to reposition the school?
He felt that the state had some other priorities. Because people have argued this for and for, that perhaps the school was provided for social intervention to give education to the poorest of the poor. So persons who could not afford education at other level in the private institution ought to go to AU and get cheaper education. But the government also felt that to a large extent, we cannot provide substandard education because we are struggling to give cheap education. Okay. Let us give them education that can serve, something that is tangible, something that is meaningful. Let us see how best we can manage the resource with them, only to give them what is available from the state to support what they will be generating from them. But what was so surprising that all of the gains that the government has recorded in the last administration was quickly overhauled by this new government, who just wanted cheap glory. They just came on board and they made it look as though it was Gordon Obaseki that was their enemy, or perhaps eroding the achievements of the past government was their right, was all their second, and they quickly came and restated all the lecturers back without due scrutiny to say, okay, who were found wanted. If this lecturer said they did not pay them 15 months, were they actually working with those periods? Did they err in this area or that area? Okay. And they just quickly eroded. And it's not just that one. We've seen all of these things happening in recent times. This tragedy, I keep wondering. When my brother ever spoke about the issue of the Ramat flyover, I asked, someone who becomes a governor, after 1 week, he rushed to Ramat Park, put canopy, people's chairs, and said he's awarding contracts. And I wonder what exactly was the need assessment? What exactly is the fund? Has he built resources to finance the project? Okay. What's the position? So, and if you look at
so we will ask those questions as we await the formal takeoff of that project. But I'll come back to let me get Prosper in. Yeah, I'm particularly concerned about Ambrose Ali University, right. What is happening there. And I believe that you are also deeply concerned. Right. How do you think the 500 million naira subvention will impact on the school against the background of where the school is coming from the last administration? Is it just a political gimmick, as it were?
Well, let me first of all appreciate His Excellency for the bold step in building capacity in the institution. Because, I mean, it is no longer news that the Austin Osakwe-led SIT team made a mess and a mockery of Ambrose Ali University. If you go to ECPOMA today and do a vox pop, you know, you can do your findings. You will see that the SIT had done so much harm than good in the institution. As I speak with you, not less than 5 or 10 lecturers have lost their lives because of, you know, mismanagement of the institution under the Austin Osakwe-led leadership.
Yeah, I would like us to try and play down on names because they are not physically here now.
It is a fact.
To respond on is important. It's important. So let's try and focus on the issues. Yeah.
Yes.
Because the question that I asked is the 500 million naira.
Yes.
We are still talking about the past.
Yes.
We're looking at the present and the future in relation to the 500 million naira.
Yes.
How would that improvement come?
In so many ways. What do we need to talk about? Before now, what was given to the institution? And if if governor is coming on board to say they want to jack it up to something reasonable that can help the university to grow in all ramifications, then it's a welcome development. What is the big deal? What is the big deal?
All right. Let me the conversation on the 2025 budget presentation by Governor Monday Okpebholo. The onus is on him to perform and live up to every word in that budget. With the groundbreaking ceremony of the flyover, first in Benin City, first in Edo State, expectations are high that the governor would match words with action and turn that area into a construction site. That's the expectations. That's what Edo people want to see in the coming days. I want to believe that you're also looking forward to that, Shedrack.
For me, if we go straight for the jugular, if a man cannot pronounce the amount of money as a mark to spend, what's the confidence that I am? What gives me the assurance that I knows what's exactly inside that budget, let alone having the capacity to implement as it's been written? So if we are going to call a spade, for me, looking at this OAPC arrangement, I keep telling them that if you do not have the requisite capacity to bring home the dividend of democracy, the people will largely suffer. Because if you look at this the way the government is currently constituted, it is not targeted at meeting the needs. It's not people-centered, people-focused, or people-oriented. Because I've looked at some of the decisions he had made. First of all, he came on board and stopped the free bus that Tobaski was given at this material point in time, at December period, whereby the cost of transportation is still at the peak, and the poorest of the poor are taking refuge in those transportation system. He had snubbed it off. All of a sudden, we saw that he's not trying to reposition the water fountain. How can you remove money from where you are buying for commercial bus to take people around town to invest it in waterfall? What is happening is there are 3 reasons. I studied the government and seen one of the things they are doing. First thing first, he's trying to please those persons who had work. Because that waterfall is a Shomoles project. If you look at the budget that was passed, what did they call it? Renewed hope. The government is still struggling to appreciate those persons who had vigorously worked hard to rig it into office. That's why the only thing they do now is that they are doing to please Oshomole, to please Akpabio, or to please President Tinubu.
Yeah, but there's no evidence to this line of reasoning.
Even if you look at
there's no evidence. There's no objectivity in this line of reasoning, Shedrack. Whatever is being done is being done to please individuals. These are just speculations, yeah.
It's speculations in the sense that the people are not being carried along. If you look at the health insurance scheme that has been going on for a couple of years, over 500,000 persons in those days have been integrated. All pensioners have been integrated. Okpebholo has refused to pay the counterpart funding from the Edo State government, putting so many people out of access to quality health, and yet he's speaking of high fallacy project. I saw after
when you say he has refused, I thought I heard in the budget there's a provision for 1.8 billion naira.
As I speak today,
yes.
As I speak today, 3 out of the 4 institutions, hospitals that are providing that facility, they are pulling out, and the last one, the major one, is trying to pull out because the government has refused to pay to ensure that people are able to get people who give birth, common petty traders who give birth in those hospitals. Withdrew operations cost as high as 365,000, and yet after being under that program, they are meant to pay only 10%, about 30,000. So if you look at all of these things, if you look, even if you look, for me personally, I still want to the whole thing is looking as though the government is not.
So you are a pessimist as far as this government is concerned.
No, it's not like I'm a pessimist. The challenge is that, okay, look at the one he wrote about wanting to put together an aeroplane coupling or assembly to? What's the relevance of that
Okay.
to the life of people?
All right, Shadrach, let me pause you there and get Prosper to respond to some of these revelations, particularly on the healthcare and some of the presentations that he made as it relates to living up to the expectations of Edo people.
Well, like I said, you see, it is when you want to kill a dog, you give it a bad name. Whatever, if you are constructive in your position, I will agree with you. We are here to talk about development for Edo people. We are not here to criticize government out of assumption. It will not be fair to this government for you to just all what you have said. If all what you have said happened in 1 month, it means that these are just cook-up stories. Honestly speaking. Because to be frank with you, a government that have just started, barely a month, they are already hitting the ground running. What more do you want? How effective has this government been? That should be the question. It is not to criticize government have not done this, government have not done this. It is too early to criticize.
Tell me what he has done one thing.
In terms of health, of course they just started.
No, just tell me anything. It is 1 month, it's 30 days already.
Yes.
Tell me something to show that this government has a clear direction. He has a blueprint, he has a vision, he has a plan for Edo people. Ramba Park we're talking about, this is close to 3 weeks now. No, he rushed there as though everything was already set. He brought out a plan. Today, there's not even one tractor in that place, not even one block has been moved, not one shovel hole has been dug in that place. And he gave us the impression that this thing is going to come to light in almost immediately. He left there, he went to hire a chopper. He brought this regular police chopper. If you watch the video clearly, a police chopper, those normal police chopper, brought one red Indian man who flew. He just drove around Benin, flew around the stadium, came back, and came us and told us that the government is collaborating with another firm, and that firm is going to provide a aeroplane assembly plant. And I wonder, are we going to import the parts? You've not bought keke assembly plants. You've not bought bicycle assembly plants. You've not bought car assembly plants. You are just flying to. What this thing tells you is that the government is looking for high quality projects where it's going to put in billions of naira so that they can envelop the money. As they deploy it there, they will go behind and drain it out. For me,
can you substantiate this?
And I'm telling you that those white elephant projects, none of them are started well. None of them have seen the light of day.
All right, let me pause you there. I'll come back to you in a moment, Shadrach.